Welcome everyone to Reset to Healthier Relationships, Sunday nights at 9. I am Coach Glenda here with Mr. Carpenter. Here we have another great topic. Tonight we are talking about, yes, it's true, children are affected by their parents' relationship. How many of us have experienced that? I know that I have, and that was one of my biggest issues in my marriage. I tell you, any relationship that came after my marriage, it was one of my biggest problems. I tell you, my sons did not want me to date anyone after their father. I tell you, they were blocking all of my relationships. But I tell you, I will not say anything else because I want Mr. Carpenter to introduce himself and tell you a little bit about himself.
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad you guys stayed on. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming because you guys make the show, as we always say, without you, we don't have a show. We've got a storm in my area, so I apologize for being a little late getting the technical stuff done, but we will prevail. We're not quitters, and quitters don't have a place here. So that's why we got it done. Once again, my name is Rufus Carpenter. I come to this space a little different than most. My background comes from a family of 14 and a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with 13 siblings and my mother and father. So it was 16 of us in that house using one bathroom. And then the next thing about it, it was like 2 or 3, 4 in the bed. So I slept with 4 of my siblings and had to deal with occasional bedwetter. So I got to understand the human connection very, very well. Fast forward, I was married 27 years. So being married 27 years, you learn a thing about commitment, you learn a thing about trust, you learn a thing about fidelity, you learn a thing about compromise. So that also taught me a deeper connection with the human relationships. Then my story didn't stop then. Then I was in the military. And one of the jobs I had in the military was a race relationship counselor and NCO. And with that, being a leader in that field, I had the responsibility of going and do the first intakes of any relationship issue within my unit. So that taught me a diverse background or diverse situation or environment, how to deal with things like relationship. So tonight I'm very comfortable and I love the fact that you're here. And the framework of tonight is, as well as every Sunday night, is that you and your girlfriends, you guys are in one of your living rooms and you're talking about relationships. Now, every week we have a topic, and the night topic is really dealing with children in your relationship. And we all, majority of us have been a kid, even if we don't have children in our relationship right now. We were kids in a relationship. So everybody tonight, we ask that you bring your experiences and you share, because what you share is going to make a difference for what we hear tonight. Because this is something that we really need to get involved in at the grassroots level. And we need to go ahead and make a difference because our community is really affected by children in relationship. Right now, 78% of our youth are being raised in single family homes headed by one parent. And because of that, there's a lot of things that's not, how I want to say it, a lot of things that we fall short or have blind spots in when it comes to our children. Our children are real resilient, but still we have to realize what we're doing as adults and the parents, what are we doing and how it affects our children. So I'm not going to take my co-host there, Glenda. She has so much to give tonight, so I'm going to turn it back over to her because I can get long-winded. Glenda?
No, I want the audience to do most of the talking. I just have a little bit of feedback here and there. We want to kick it off with we want to talk about our healthy relationships, about just a description of healthy relationships. Children who grow up in homes with healthy, loving relationships benefit immensely. An example of that is for an example of a healthy relationship is seeing parents communicate respectfully teaches kids about constructive conflict resolution. I know that most of the time that most relationships and where kids grow up with both parents, that, sometimes they see that. Then there are relationships that where kids don't see that, where they come from broken families, where they start out together and then maybe there's a separation. Um, they come from broken homes, then they see where, mom and dad are always fussing and fighting, you know, then, there's always disagreements. Then that's where that conflict comes in. But when there is a healthy relationship, the kids always see that parents are always in agreement, and kids are most of the time, they get that, they come from healthy backgrounds and they're more productive. But that's not always the case. Now, anybody have any feedback, from that? Can anyone say that they come from that type
The
of
screen
background
is
and then have
black.
any? Say that again.
Whose screen is, somebody said the screen is black.
The whole screen is black?
I think Dr. Johnson said the screen is black. I think her screen is black.
The
Let's
whole
see.
screen?
I
Okay,
can
I
everybody
can see
see us? I
our
can see
screen.
Glenda. I can see the board. I can see everybody. Your screen is black, Dr. Johnson. Let's see if there's anything on our part that why your screen is black.
Is anyone else having any issues with the screen, with their screen?
Green to me.
It's Dr. Johnson. Everything is good on our end for your screen, Dr. Johnson. Dr. Johnson, unmute. Okay, she went out and she's coming back in. All right, go ahead, Glenda. Go ahead. You were talking about
okay.
anybody share some experiences. And
Yeah,
I want to piggyback on what Glenda said, because tonight she's right. We need you to share, because there's so much that we can touch on when it comes to children. And all of us were a child in a relationship. Even if you had a great childhood and you had two parents that raised you and you had the benefit of a mother and father, share that tonight. If you were a single, if you had a single parent as head of the household, if it was a mother or father, share that tonight. We want to know. If you were from a divorced couple that divorced and you went back and forth between mother and father, share that. If you were a bonus child in a relationship where somebody married and one person already had kids and you came on board a bonus child, share that. If you were adopted, share that, because we want to know, we want the word out. We want to be the source for the strength in our community. We want to get it right when it comes to our children. It takes a village, and you're the village, you're the community, you're the tribe. All right, go ahead, Glenda.
Okay, so do anyone have any feedback in regards to a healthy relationship? Do any of the participants tonight come from a background where they come from a healthy relationship? Both parents were involved, present in the household, or Andre?
I will say, while I call it healthy, I grew up with my mom and my stepfather. And the reason that I called it healthy is because I never felt like a stepson.
Okay.
But my only challenge, though, when I think about currently, like the relationships I see today, if you're a mother who like just divorced or whatever, and you have 5 kids, while you may be a healthy parent, it might be difficult to get into a relationship with 5 children,
Yes. Yes. You're absolutely right.
And that's unique, because Andre said something very, very dear to me, that it was a stepfather, right, Andre? I think he said it as stepfather.
Yes, sir, it was.
Yes.
So the stepfather, and the way he said it, the stepfather raised him like he was his original biological child, if I'm understanding what he's saying. So he didn't see any difference. And that's very important, because sometimes men say, I'm not going to raise another man's child, regardless.
Right.
And I've heard that said a lot.
Yes.
and then some people open their hearts as children are children. Children don't have any fault in this. We have to do all we can to love children, because children are, situations affect children differently. They affect them differently. I'm glad we're still talking about healthy relationships. Any more healthy relationships with children? Because it's been said that the child is the same as the parent. They say if the parent relationships are great, the children relationships are going to be great. So that's what they say. They said if you're in a relationship and you're a parent, if your relationship good, your child is going to be good. If your relationship is messed up, your child is going to be messed up. Right. So we're still talking about good experiences. Who came up, or who has a model of a good childhood? Normally we would say the Cosbys, and we would say how those kids were raised. We would say that, but I think we want to leave that one alone tonight. But because we want to talk real world. We want to talk about us, because we've shared some stuff. Now, I want to share my mother died when I was young, and my aunt finished raising me. I think I was like maybe 10, 11, or 12, something like that, when my aunt finished raising me, and my aunt and my uncle Johnny. And they did an excellent job. Now, they had problems because when we're talking about a great relationship, a great environment to raise a child, we're talking about the parents get together, they love each other, the environment is great, and they have financial resources to do that. Sometimes we didn't have the financial resources to do it, but still my parents did, my aunt and uncle did an excellent job of raising me, because they gave me love and they shared, and I always saw them, their relationship was great. They could talk things out, they had mutual respect for each other. And from that, I gleaned a lot from that. So, anybody else want to share?
Well, Andre put in the chat, can you define normal? Because his was abnormal but healthy. And I'm curious to know what was abnormal for him.
I think you want to do what's healthy first, and then he can tell us his abnormal.
Well, I need to know what was abnormal for him.
I think it's abnormal for a stepfather. Again, like I was saying, for me, I didn't see my stepsisters as stepsisters. Whatever they had, I could easily ask my stepdad, and it was no different, and that's not normal.
A lot of people said, that's my child, so I'm gonna take my child something. I found out when I had kids, or when I went to visit kids, if I took something for one, I took it for all. I wasn't gonna give, like, let's say there are 3 children, and one of those children is mine, or one of those children is my niece, or one of those children are my blood relationship, where the other ones aren't. If it's 3 kids there, I'm taking 3 presents, and I'm gonna try to make them equal.
Right.
I'm not gonna say, well, hey, that's my blood, that's my little niece, so hey, I brought something for her. I want her to feel special. I want her to know that I'm her uncle. And if I did that, I'm wrong. A lot of people justify doing that, but if I did that, I'm wrong.
Well, you don't leave one out. I mean, if there's 3 kids out in the house, you don't just buy for one because that's your relative or your blood. You buy something for all.
That's what should be done.
Yes, right. That's what should be done.
But I'm sure someone on this line, or someone on this call tonight, have seen that done otherwise. Because that's what Andre was saying, that he don't see it done that way all the time. Because, and so you got to realize, and the next topic is high conflict relationship, the unhealthy ones. And I think this is where we're going to find that stuff about kids are being treated differently in that relationship. So we want to transition to that one, or we want to stay in the healthy, Glenda?
Do anybody else have any comments on the healthy relationships? Well, I guess we can transition to the high conflict relationship. Okay, the high conflict one is constant conflicts between parents can negatively impact children. A good example of that is imagine a child hearing daily arguments. They might feel anxious and stressed. Now, I can relate to that because with me and my husband, like I said, during previous discussions, we, out of a 7-year, almost 8-year marriage, we separated 7 times out of that marriage. And we had more bad days than good days. And we, like I said, we separated majority of the time. And my kids heard us fuss and cuss all the time. And they were so, I tell you, they wanted us to stay together, but we could not work anything out. And it was very frustrating for both of us, even the children. And it wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy at all, whatsoever. And it affected the children at the house, it affected the children at school, and it really affected their behavior because the children did not know how to act. And it bothered them so much that it really pushed me towards a divorce because I knew that if I didn't make a decision for myself, it would affect them as men in their relationships going forward. I didn't want them fussing and arguing and hitting and disrespecting their wives and girlfriends. So that was one of my driving forces to get out of my marriage. Because I didn't want to say, well, my mom tolerated. No, she didn't. She did it as long as she could. So I knew that it wasn't healthy for me, and I didn't want it to affect my sons and their relationship. Now, if they're doing it with their wives and their girlfriends, they can say, well, my mom did it, but eventually she got out, but she only did it for a limited time only. And when she got hit, she hit back. So if my sons got hit, that yes, my mom hit back too. So it isn't a healthy thing. So does anybody have any feedback on experiencing conflict or seeing their parents or having any feedback towards unhealthy relationships with, seeing their parents or even experiencing itself in an unhealthy relationship? Now I need y'all to talk because I know it's not just me.
Go ahead, Angela.
In my relationship, I did tolerate it as long as I could, but I felt I needed to get out because I needed to set a good example for my daughter. Right. And I wanted her to know that she could make it with or without a husband if he was unfaithful. Right. So regardless of how I felt I owed it to my child. Be a good mother and to set a good example and to let her know what she didn't have to tolerate. So in that, I never would say anything negative about her father. As a matter of fact, I shielded her from a lot of things, wherein my mom would say, you know what, you shield her from so much. I don't know if that's good or not. And I thought, well, this is the kind of way I feel led to do it, but I would never say anything negative. So one time he was just kicking up. We were still together, and even after that, he was saying something negative about me. And now my daughter is a little bit growner, and she said, "You know what? My mama ain't never said nothing bad about you, and I know that she could because I know what you do, right? And I've seen you. Right. So how dare you talk about my mother?" Right. So I felt that I did something right. Right. I was letting her know, life takes its turns. You can get out. You don't have to tolerate it. It does.
Thanks for sharing that. That makes a difference in the world because, again, the children are affected by the relationship. When it's high conflict, children, they don't know how to react. They really don't
They
know how
don't.
to act.
No.
It brings anxiety in their life. They're off balance, they're unsure. And it
Yes.
makes their future relationships go sour, because they think that's the norm. So
Right. And see, God put a special love in the heart of a child for the mother and the father, and you can't touch that.
mhm, you're right.
Touch it.
You're
I
right.
mean, she knows that, she know the deal, and it ain't nothing that she won't do for her daddy.
Right.
Right now she's doing too much. Right now. But she love him, and then she feels sorry. Can you
Mhm.
help him? No, I can't help him. I did all my time is up. Tag, somebody else turn.
Right. Right.
And yes, and in high conflict relationships, a lot of times the one of the parent or both of the parent will use a child in the middle. Will actually use the child and put the child in adult situations that don't need to be, and that really affect the child because it gives the child a lot of emotional stress, a lot of emotional stress.
Yeah,
Right.
right. And you have to decide what you're going to stand for. Because I can remember at the onset of the initial separation, and the judge said, "Well, where are you staying? What's your address?" "Oh, well, I'm at a hotel." "Oh, well, you ain't taking her to no hotel where you staying. You get an address, and then she can come with you on the weekend. But until then, she cannot." And because I was fuming, because I was going to go head to toe with the judge.
Mhm.
Not on my watch.
Right.
I thought I was going to explode. It was a conflict resolution. They had
Yes,
to put me in.
yes. And in high conflict relationships, a lot of times the parents are still together and they're still together and they're in a household, and that communication is way off, or the communication is foul, or that conflict happens all the time. And a child sees that becomes the normal environment for that family and that child. And that child, some children drown, some tune it out. Some children go, find comfort or solace in friends and other things. But a lot of times we as parents and adults can't figure it out. So how do we expect our children to deal through that? And this
Right
is
now, I didn't have a fussing. It wasn't a lot of bickering back and forth. I was just quiet. It was
Mhm.
just a lot of silence. So that's not necessarily good either. But I think the silence is better than me being irate.
Oh
So
no, I
you
talk
so
back.
you took a submissive role. Am I correct?
Kind of, sort of. I'm gonna keep the peace because I was just quiet. You do. It was
And,
just like no communication.
do you think that role that your daughter took that as saying, "Hey, look, the man is so I have to be submissive"? You think she learned from that being submissive, or you think that she was okay, or
Absolutely not. She's not submissive. I mean, no.
okay?
She's gonna let you know what she. Yeah.
And and see, sometimes the kids learn the opposite, because when I was staying before my mom died, I was living with my mother and father, and my father, he loved us and he was a good guy, but he had issues. He would get drunk every Friday and Saturday and come home from work, and he wouldn't have the money. He'd already did something with the money. He'd come home broke, and fight my mom, because she would say, where's your paycheck? Where's the money? We need the money. And he would start an argument and fight to keep from having the money. So as kids, we used to get on his legs and pull him off my mom, and he would still fight, and he would kick us like rag dolls. And then my mom would get up from the floor and she would try to save us. So she would go and get in between my dad and us, and she would get another lick. And it was a bad situation. So I saw that as saying, I will never hit a woman. So I took it as said, that's behavior I'm not gonna do. And I was like 10 years old. And I made up my mind, because how I saw how it affect my mom, I said, I'll never hit a woman. And that I took it that way, where a lot of siblings in my family say, hey, they would hit a woman because they think that's norm. So you never know how the child's going to take it or how it's going to affect the child, because every situation is different. Children digest and take stuff differently. Okay. Any more in the high conflict area relationships? Anybody else got any examples? Anybody want to share any experiences, or anybody want to ask any questions about that part?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. What
Hello.
about when a child is put in a position to like take sides? Will they like put you in a position to take a side? That's kind of difficult to deal with too,
It is.
especially when
You want to address
you're
that,
not.
Glenda? You want to address that one? Or you want me to address it?
I think she's still talking.
Oh, good. I'm sorry.
No,
Sharon.
no, I wasn't. I was just wondering about people's opinion about that. When a child is like put in a position, like I said, to take a side. When an adult is like trying to lean you towards their side, as far as making it look like, they're not wrong, or because they got the kids on their side, that automatically mean the other person is at fault.
Well, I know that for when I was going through my divorce, even before the divorce, my ex-husband, that's how he pretty much won my sons over. He won them over with games and sports and stuff like that. He won them over with materialistic things. And he was like, your mom don't let you do this. She doesn't let you stay up past this hour. She doesn't let, and I was like, okay, whatever. But because they were at a certain age, the court more or less, took my side. But when they got to a certain age, they was able to make a decision for themselves to, they let them go stay with their dad. But it was like, they didn't do any better with their father. But at a certain point of our divorce and our separation, he more or less won them over with materialistic things, but grades didn't matter, structure didn't matter. He pretty much let them run wild and do whatever they want to, but to get back at me. But it was like, it didn't do them any good. They were failing in school. They didn't have any structure, and it wasn't healthy for them. He more or less took them out of going to church. Their morals and values wasn't, where they were supposed to be. So I was like, I mean, what good was it? You more or less, and then when they got around me, it was like, they were looking at me like an ATM machine, like, what are you gonna buy me now? I'm like, what? Oh no, we don't do that. I'm like, I don't know who you talking to. I ain't no chick on the street. So, that's not good. I'll tell you no real quick. Look, I don't support a man, and I'm not going to support you, even if you were my child. You can go out there and get a job. So I don't do that either. So, you even have to put your child in the right place too. But, there are certain things that are age appropriate. And, sometimes you got to pull your spouse or your significant other, your baby daddy, whatever the role is, your ex-husband, your husband, put on, look, I don't know what you're doing to the kids, but you need to stop that, because I don't know what game you playing, but that's not going to work with me. Because I'm not playing those types of games. You need to stop that. Sometimes, because I used to tell my ex-husband, well, no, let me take that back. I used to tell my kids, you need to stay in a child's place. Whatever goes on between me and your father, that's between me and your father. But my ex-husband always used to put the children in our business so they can, oh, you doing my dad wrong. You shouldn't say that about my dad. You shouldn't do that. And I'm like, well, how did you know about that? Who told you that? It was that my ex-husband, or my husband at the time, was telling my kids all of our business. So it was a constant battle. And then I would have to go tell my ex-husband, was like, why are you telling the kids what we're talking about? Because I wouldn't take the kids to court. He would go back and tell them everything that would take place. So it was always a constant battle between me and him and the children. So, I could never win because he would always keep them in our business. So I could never win when it came to me and my children. I was always the villain. I was always the bad guy.
Okay, audience needs your help. Sharon asked the question. Sharon started this with initial question is, how do you handle when one of the adults pit the children against the other adult, involve the children in that? What would you tell a panel? What would you tell her? What suggestions would you have? How would you answer the question she asked? Panel, who wants to help with the answers to that question?
I have to say,
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Andre.
Andre first and Angela second. Go ahead, Andre.
I was going to say, I have to say the famous words of a judge here. She looked up, two parents were arguing over their children's school attendance, and both parents wanted to blame each other. Well, she politely put them both in jail because she said that they both had the responsibility of raising the child appropriately. So I would just kind of say in this situation, I wish that parents would realize that they are the adults and would hopefully understand how that can traumatize a child over in the long term.
Excellent. What city and state was that where they put both parents in jail?
Birmingham, Alabama.
Y'all, Alabama, boy. Awesome. Hey, great. Thanks for sharing that, sir. All right, Angela, you up next.
Oh no, mine was a little slightly different. Whereas in, we didn't, like I said, I was a little passive. I would be quiet. But what he would do is every 2 weeks, he would either buy her a brand new $100 or more pair of tennis shoes, or either a $75 or $80 pair of pants, jeans, or clothes. And every 2 weeks, to the point that I couldn't keep up with, her attire, her clothes and things in the house. We was like running over. She was buying a new suitcase because she was going that weekend with him, and not unpacking the weekend before. It just became a mess. And it was because he was doing whatever he was doing, and when she was with him, so that, she would be quiet or whatever. That was his way of doing that quietly. And it was like running me out the house, because it was just too much stuff, unnecessary. One time, she wore tennis shoes and she may have worn them maybe 2 or 3 times. One time I had to pack up 30 pair of tennis shoes. They all look brand new, to kind of give away to somebody once the thing settled. It was just a pure waste of money, hundreds of dollars. I just couldn't fathom it, when it could have been used for something else, when child support was only $413. To just have her on their side. So it's different ways of doing it. It's just a tactic, and it's just not good.
Okay.
But she got to realize that as she got older.
Okay, thank you for that, Angela. Dr. Johnson, I'm glad you kept coming back. I know you had some difficulty, and I appreciate you coming back. But look like you chomping at this one, like you got something to say. So we're gonna let you say it. Oh, your mic isn't on, Dr. Johnson. You're still muted. We can't hear you. Let me make sure you're
okay, man.
Yeah, you're good.
Yes,
yeah,
we can
you're
hear
good. Go ahead.
Yeah. With parents, because it was a situation with my my nephew. I was his foster care parent at the time, and he was trying to pit me and my previous husband against each other. But I had a talk with my previous husband about it and told him, no, this cannot be. He is a child, and we need to come together to let him know that we're not going against each other to check ties or raise him.
Excellent. Anyone else want to weigh in on what Sharon asked the question about? What do you do when one parent pits the child against the other parent? Anyone else got any more suggestions or any experience or any comments they want to share with Sharon about this? Okay, here's what I want to say. If that's the case, the both parents, like Andre brought up, the judge put both parents in jail because both parents have responsibility, which is 100% true. When that happens, the parent, the other parent, like for instance, if you don't have, if you're the parent that is being ganged up between you and your child, the child and your other spouse, they're ganging up on you, or your one parent is pitting the other child against you, you have responsibility. And if you can't get control of the situation by you, the husband or the wife, and the child talking, you have an obligation to seek professional help. Seek professional help in a situation like that. Because a situation like that, you may not be able to bridge that gap by yourself. And it may get worse and worse. But the children, sometimes the child needs an outsider, a professional to sort through some of that stuff, as well as the other parent might need an outsider, a professional to sort through that. And this is where that mental health comes into play, because you got to realize something. And Andre said something earlier, and I tabled it for this time. He said between the mother and father, he said that the child gonna walk away with this, and how is this gonna affect the child when the child get old enough to date and have his or her own relationship? Are they gonna take this into their relationship? To get through this and sort through this, you have to bring in a professional therapist or counselor, because it's needed. Because that other spouse proved that they're not really listening to you, and they're ganging up on you with the child. So they're putting the child in an adult situation which you can't win, the child can't win, and really they don't win. So it's a loss for everybody. Okay? Anybody got any comments? Want to comment on that part before we go into the next section? Okay, Glenda, want to go to the next section, please?
Yes. Let's see. Where are we at?
Okay, we're
Separation.
talking about the impact of separation and divorce.
Right, separation and divorce. We have the effects of separation and divorce varies based on how the situation is handled. And an example of that, think about the child shuffling between two houses, two homes. How they cope often depends on the parents' ability to co-parent effectively. So anyone have any examples of that? How you have had whether it was you or the child that you were raising had to cope with having to deal with going to, two different homes, or if it was you growing up having to go to two different homes. Anyone have any examples they want to share about having any examples about having to raise a child that had to go to two separate homes? I know that.
Yes,
Go ahead. Anybody want to share?
Angela,
yes, the parents really get along and can come into an agreement. It's usually a problem because one live one way and one may live another way, or one rules may be one way and another route one may be stricter. Now, to me, I was more of the disciplinarian for my daughter.
Right.
And so that kind of created a problem. But I
does.
was like that when we were together. And so it just kind of created a mess.
It does.
And it just wasn't good. So my daughter, well, she finished school. She didn't get pregnant until 19, almost 20. And of course, it wasn't at my house, because she was still going over to his house on that weekend. So it kind of created an issue.
Right.
Somebody was going to say something?
Anybody else have any comments?
Me?
Yes, go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
me.
Okay. Well, Okay, I went through that. My kids was raised between their father and me. But what I did learn in the long run, in the end, once they got at the age where they could think for themselves and get their own opinion, they realized the difference in between what was said as far as like if anything was negative said toward me or vice versa, or anything negative said towards their father. They end up coming to their own conclusion, which worked out okay. It worked out okay because they could see the fault in both instead of it being one-sided.
Okay.
And that's the resilience in children. Children do figure it out. So some children can fare very well in that two household or two parents. But like Angela said, it first have to deal with the parents. Those parents have to agree that they're going to do a great job in raising those kids, even if it's in different households. Because the children are the priority, not so much the parents.
Right.
And that has to happen because we got to realize something. The indelible mark we put on these children stays with them all their lives.
Right. The children really do want discipline.
Mm-hmm.
They really want discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very important. All right. Any other before we move on to the next one? Any other comments? Okay, Glenda. We'll go next one.
Okay, we have single parent and blended families. Now we have blended can thrive in single parent and blended families with the right support. An example is a single mom who maintains a close supportive relationship with her child can prove a sense of stability. Single families require time and clear communication to form strong, positive relationship. Does anybody have any example of a single parent or a blended family scenario, or does anybody come from a single family or blended family? Do anybody have any examples of that's on the line tonight?
Okay. Going once, going twice. I guess the original examples would have been blended. Yes, it would have been blended, Andre. Well, let's do this. So let me share, because we're going to go into the last part of this. So if you guys don't mind, I'll give you some examples of both. Okay. Right now, like I said earlier, 78% of our children are going home at night from school to a single parent household. And it's 38% or more of those single households is a female, is the head of that household. So a lot of times those children are raised in such a way that right now the African American female that does that get a bad rap. Because now the society has labeled the Black female as being so strong and rigid, and they're saying that and this is society, this is not Rufus Carpenter, so please don't put it on me. Don't put it on me, because that's what society is saying, and I'm not gonna say angry Black women, but they're saying Black women, their attachment style is that in the avoidance, that they much rather be strong than be vulnerable in a relationship. So the attachment style is they want to back up and kind of be away a little bit. And and then we got the other side of it, where the single moms want to raise a little boy, the male child, where they want a male child they'll let them stay in the house, so they're in their 30s and 20s and 40 years old, where they want to take care of their boy children. Now, come on now, everybody looking at me like I'm crazy. Nobody on this line have seen where adult boys are in the house with their mama, and they're being taken care of, and mama washing the clothes, mama doing the laundry, mama buying the groceries, and they don't have no responsibility in the household. And then when they finally leave out the house, they go find a woman to do the same thing that mama did for them. Am I the only one that's seeing this? I'm the only one that see this?
You're not.
Yeah,
That's what I was asking earlier about the double standard.
Now, I tend to disagree with this now. I have 2 adult children at home with me right now. One of them, she's here because she's paying off student loans. I wanted to pay off those student loans, and then she can go about her business. Okay. Now, my youngest one, he's like 20, he'll be 24 this year. And I'm telling him, you need to save. I don't want you to spend your money on, whatever. You don't need to pay me anything. I just need you to save your money, because when you leave, or excuse me, when I leave, because as soon as my daughter's finished, I'm leaving. You need to find somewhere to stay. So I want him to have money to buy himself a house. So, and he has his, like, I bought him a car for his birthday, but he has to pay his own insurance. He has to pay to maintain his car. He goes to work every day. He does overtime to save his money.
Then
Is he saving the money?
Yes, he is. Oh, I checked the bank account. He's saving.
Okay.
Are you doing his laundry?
Oh, heck no. No. He did. I taught them how to do all of them, how to do their laundry when they were like 9 or 10 years old.
Then what you
He
doing?
had to cook. Say again?
What you doing, Ava, is a little tad bit different. What you doing is you using that short term dependent on you to make sure they can go long term by themselves. So you're educating them on the world and on life, and you giving them a head start. You're not crippling them, you giving them a head start. So you're doing something a tad bit different, which makes a lot of sense. You're giving them a foot up versus letting them just lay and just enjoy life. So you're doing it. So you
if I gotta get out of here to go to work, you gonna bring your butt to work too.
So that's awesome.
Ain't no freebies around here.
So that's awesome. So you're doing it the right way. You're doing it the right way. And so the kids see that, and they can pass it on to their children. They can help them get up and get started. Now, let's go to the time, we're running out of time. So let's go to the second part, the blended family. Now, we've got a great example of the blended family going on right now. If you watch the Democratic convention, if you watched that, you saw the whole TV version of it, how they said that the vice president, her and her husband, Doug, that they have a blended family. And the kids love their mother, their stepmother, and their father mutually. As a matter of fact, the whole time that the vice president was speaking, one of the blended children, one of her bonus children from the other side, just cried for the mother and the father. So you see that love. So a blended family, you have, if the kids are the priority, you can see what you can really do. So I was so proud and I felt so good when I saw that, because I'm into children. I'm really into children. So when I saw that, that really did my heart good to see that. So the whole world saw that, how those children are affected by that. As a matter of fact, I think they gave her a new name. I think they call her Mama Mara. I don't know what that name is.
It's Mamala.
Mamala gave her another name. So and Doug
Mamala.
And Doug said when they said that, he knew that when they start calling her Mamala, he knew everything was fine. So that's an excellent example right there. All right, Glenda, you want to start bringing this home? It's time for us to.
You can wrap it up. That's your punishment.
Hey, you can't blame me for the storm. Hey, everybody, we're glad you're here tonight. You did an excellent job of bringing this subject out, because kids are our future. Kids are our future, and it takes a whole village to raise a kid. And you did a great job of explaining that. Once again, you got to realize sometimes that when parents get involved, you can't control the other person or other parent or the other spouse. So sometimes you might have to get a professional involved, a third party. And then sometimes third parties is not as court, because a lot of times if you get a court, you go to court for child support and custody and all this and all that. That's great. But you might need a professional counselor or therapist to help the whole family work through it, not just the child. Because if the child go to the counselor, the two spouses need to go too. You pretty much need to use the same counselor, because the same counselor can see all sides of that environment, all sides of that relationship. And it's very, very important because they can talk to you guys as a group and they can talk to them as individual, so they make sure everybody has or get what they need. Because the child has to come through. Andre said that if the child is not taken care of, how it's going to look when they start dating and they start having their relationships, what's going to be that outcome? So it's very important that we realize the children in this. And it's been said that the children goes as the parents' relationship goes. If the parents have a great relationship, the kids have a great relationship. Okay? Any questions about anything we talked about tonight? Any questions, any concern, any last minute remarks? Well, Glenda, you want to say the good night?
No, everything went well. I thank you for your sacrifice and your patience tonight. I look forward to seeing everyone next Sunday. Thank you for your sacrifice, for showing up for our Sunday nights at 9. Look forward to seeing you next week. Have a wonderful week. So long. See you next week.
Good night. When is Labor Day? When is the holiday coming up? Isn't the holiday coming up? Is it before us or after us?
Labor Day.
Monday. That's on a Monday. Labor Day, that's on a Monday.
Okay, so we'll be before. Okay, great. All right then. I'll say happy holiday then.
You're trying to get a day off. You sound like you're trying to get a day off.
All right. Thank you, everybody. It's been fun. I'm glad to have you on. And if you're new, this is your first time, welcome. If don't let it be your last time. All right. Remember, we've got YouTube. Everything that we do tonight will be on YouTube by Wednesday. So please go. And when you go on YouTube, we ask you to make comments and subscribe for us. I appreciate you very, very much. Good night, everybody.
So long.